Hello and welcome to the Soundtrap tutorial on Dynamics. In this tutorial I'm going to first show you how to use Dynamics in Soundtrap, and then I'm going to give you 3 different ways that you can use it to sort of enhance your compositions. Now, I want to be clear, when we use Dynamics in Soundtrap, we are changing the volume of individual tracks. And dynamics are never placed haphazardly. You always want to choose your dynamic changes with intent, which means you have an idea and you use the dynamics to sort of see that idea into realization. So let's jump in. The first example is right here with these 2 tracks. Let's listen to what they sound like. Great, and it's that repeated. Now, I'm going to work on the piano part right here, and I'm going to change its dynamic. To do that, first I'm going to click solo so that we only hear the piano part when it plays. To add dynamics, you're going to click here on this icon. This is your automations icon, and it gives you many options that you can add to your track. So go ahead and click on the empty space of automation, and then you'll click on the volume. Okay? This gives you a solid line below the track. This solid line represents the dynamic of that track, or the volume of that track. Now, if you click and drag, you can drag it up so it's louder, down so it's softer. Right in the middle is about average, medium volume. Now, you can do that same change here with this knob, clicking and dragging it up and down. But you notice that it just stays the same. The dynamic level stays the same. It does not change. Let's say I want it to start this track soft. So I'm going to click over here and drag it down to the bottom so it starts soft. And I want it to get louder as it plays. I'm going to double click and add a second dot so that the track slowly increases in volume, and then it's going to fade out, and I'm going to click down here and add a third dot so that it slowly fades out. Now let's see what that sounds like. Yeah. Now let's put that together with our drum and see what it sounds like. Right on. So that's how you can use dynamics. That's how you enter dynamics. Now, this is a really dramatic change for a piano to come from nowhere and become the loudest thing in the track and then back out again. Let me show you a couple of different ways to to use dynamics and volume in your compositions. Now notice to hide the automation, I clicked the automation button again, and you can see the dynamics sort of behind the track. It'll still work back there as long as you keep that dynamic in. You don't have to keep the button clicked. So here, in this example, it's the same drum part and piano part, and I added a bass track. We're going to balance these 3 tracks using dynamics. So let's listen to what they sound like first. Yeah, and you can already tell that my dynamic on here is a little bit down. So I'm going to turn that up and we'll listen to it one more time. That's what it sounds like. So to balance tracks, this means I want to bring out a track and make it more obvious and maybe make some of the other tracks a little bit more background. This is a little bit of a delicate procedure with dynamics because you don't want to go too extreme. In this instance, I like the bass part, and I want the bass part to be sort of at the front of the hearing so you can hear it the most. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a volume here, add an automation, and I'm going to put the bass part up just a hair so it's a little bit louder than my other 2 tracks. I'm going to add an automation to my drum part, and I'm going to bring it down just a smidge. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and play with this automation as well and bring it down just a smidge as well. Okay, I'm going to hide those automations, and let's hear what it sounds like now. You can hear how the bass part is more pronounced. It's more at the forefront of your listening now, just with that small little dynamic change. So that's one way to use dynamics to balance your tracks. A second way is to have an effect. So here I have the 3 tracks that we just balanced in the last section, and I added another track. This is called Dark Feedback. Ooh, let's see what it sounds like. Yeah, it's like aliens contacting you from space. So as an effect, I want this dark feedback sound to sort of come in and out and in and out of my song. So I'm going to add volume. And I'm going to make it a really dramatic change. It's going to start down here, almost at silent, and it's going to come up to here, almost to full volume, and it's going to go back down, and then back up, and then back down. And I'm doing my best to line up the peaks with the valleys so that they're happening sort of at the same volume level. And what you're going to get is a track that comes into and out of existence. Makes it sound sort of like it's breathing, like it's alive. Again, you can see my dynamic changes line up with the repetition of the loops. These are very intentional choices where I put these dynamic peaks and valleys, okay, the highs and the lows of the volume here. Okay, I'm not randomly choosing spots to make these dynamic changes. I know the sound that I'm after. So let's see what it sounds like with all the other ones. Cool. Sort of adds an undertow to the whole composition there. So that's a special effect, and the last way I want to show you how to use dynamics is a fade out. Now I'm going to open up my volumes on each one of these, and the fade out is really useful to use at the end of a song. So at the end of your composition, you can fade out all of your tracks. And what you usually do is you take the last 2 measures or maybe the last 4 measures or so, and you just simply click so you have a dynamic change point, and then you click again and you fade it out to 0. And you do that same thing with all of the tracks so that they all fade out to 0. This guy, I'm just going to fade him out like that. Do that same warbliness. All right, now let's see what it sounds like with our fade out. And here it goes. And those are 3 different ways that you can use dynamics.